Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to another edition of DIY Money. Did you even know you were going to be on a show called DIY Money?
I did not.
Okay, so if you're listening to the show, obviously you saw in the headline, this is a little bit of a unique show. We do this every so often, so I will introduce our guest here in just a moment. If you are watching the podcast, watching the video, you are watching a video that is normally a podcast called DIY Money, which is personal finance, budgeting, all things somewhat entrepreneurial, etc. Very popular podcast on iTunes and Spotify. But every once in a while, I get something, I get motivated, and I'm a value guy. Like, I'm an investor. I'm a value investor. I look for value, and every once in a while, I find value. It could be stocks, could be investments, or it could be a person. And I feel like I have to let the world know. So I'm here with Deuce Hogan. So thanks for coming, first of all.
Thanks for having me.
So I'm going to build you up a little bit. I might embarrass you a little bit. Your head might get a little swollen here. But many of you hopefully know this young man. Some of you do not. So let me introduce Deuce. First of all, Deuce is a scholarship football player at the University of Kentucky. Going into this is going to be your second season with the University of Kentucky. Originally from Texas, right? Which we'll get into that backstory in just a minute. You left Texas and you originally went to Iowa, who we play in a couple weeks.
That's right.
That's an interesting story that we'll get into. You originally went to Iowa and you were redshirt first year, redshirt freshman. So you did 2 years at Iowa as basically the backup quarterback. Things didn't work out, whatever, and you came to Kentucky. Now, we're going to hear more about that as well. Okay. But I'm going to jump right into, and then I'll get to your backstory, but I want people who are watching this in the first couple of minutes to know why I am having you on, because it's kind of random, first of all. Let's set the personal finance stuff aside. Maybe we'll talk stocks later, because
right.
Are they giving you money or something at the university now to invest or something like that?
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll get into that. Okay, first of all, I watched Deuce come here from Iowa. I was aware that you were in the transfer portal. I was aware that both Stoops and Cohen basically brought Liam Cohen, our offensive coordinator, who, by the way, we heard about on Twitter, that probably is coming back.
That's what it's looking like, yeah.
Okay, so this makes the story even better because Stoops, Cohen, bring you here from the transfer portal. You're at Iowa, scholarship player at Iowa, superstar high school football player, which I promise we'll get to. You come here and basically become you're added to the roster. You're kind of classified as a walk-on in the beginning, but then you get a scholarship. Your scholarship as a backup QB. Will Levis is, who, by the way, sat in that seat when he first got here and nobody knew who he was.
Mm-hmm.
And so then 2 weeks after you're here, Liam Cohen takes the job with the Rams, and pretty much like you kind of move on. I mean, not move on, but we don't hear about you much anymore.
Right.
All right. So I've watched this. Now, you don't know this. I've watched this, and I've watched this progression. I've watched the last couple of years of Will and his, unbelievable success at the University of Kentucky. What a fantastic career at University of Kentucky. Can't wait to see what he does in the future. It's been an honor to get to know him better, etc. But I've watched this, and then I've watched now him leaving, especially not playing in the bowl game. And the conversations about, well, who's our next quarterback? Who's our next quarterback? And personally, I'm observing this and I'm going, wait a second, what are you talking about? We have a phenomenal quarterback here who was brought here by the offensive coordinator and the head coach and the offensive coordinator that everybody loves, and now you're not even in the conversation. I mean, quite frankly, right? I mean,
in the public eye.
In the public eye.
Right.
In the public eye.
Right.
So I've observed this, and I'm like, okay, the public needs to know about Deuce Hogan, the young man I've gotten to know. That's why you're here. That's why we're doing this. So a little bit of background, and you can fill in any blanks that I might be getting wrong. All right, so you're originally from Texas, and some accolades. Texas state champion. You hold the school record in wins, touchdowns, completed passes. You're an all-state, whatever that means, Texas all-state, right?
Right.
How many years was that?
I think my last 2 years.
Your last 2 years. High school All-American.
Yep.
MVP of the All-American game.
Yep.
Right? 37 wins, 102 career TDs. I mean, what did you not do well as a quarterback? Is there anything, literally, I mean, I'm not joking, like, is there anything that you're like, well, I kind of should have wished I would have done better at whatever?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could, run a little faster or could have used my legs a little more in high school, but I think a lot of that was trying to be safe and make sure I was healthy throughout all the seasons. So,
but
yeah.
You're a passer. Like, I mean, you're known for your arm.
Yes, sir.
Is that right?
Yep.
I told you the sirs.
I'm sorry.
It's such a this is the Texas thing, though. You told me. I mean, call me sir 57 times. I mean, I'm older than you.
I was raised.
Come on, don't put me. I'm not your professor yet. All right. I'm probably not going to be your professor. But anyways, all right. So unbelievable Texas high school career. Accolades again. You were born into a high school football family, right? Your father is a legendary coach. How many years is he coached in Texas now?
Just over 20, I think, as a head coach.
And recently named again
Coach of the Year.
Texas Coach of the Year. Yep. Also, if I'm not mistaken, is he a actual pastor, or does he just go around speak and a lot of his talks are regarding faith and his love of God and so forth?
Yeah, so he's been in Christian education. He's been an administrator in Christian education for 2 decades now. And with some opportunities actually building relationships where we were in DFW and then some of the on the field stuff. He's kind of known for his character. He's had opportunities to speak at churches, and it's always faith revolving. It's talking about that because he is in Christian education. So no, he's not by title a pastor, but my whole life, I mean, our family has loaded up and driven churches all around Texas to listen to him speak.
So faith is a big part of your life. Your relationship with God's a big part of your life for sure.
Yes, sir. Everything. It's how I was raised.
The sir again. You're killing me.
My
know
bad.
It's good. I mean, hey, you're polite. It's fine. All right. So tell us a little bit more about, I mean, you can look back. Anybody can go back and look at your high school career. I mean, you gave me bullet points, and then I Googled, and I was like, oh my goodness, okay. So, I mean, you have an unbelievable high school career. I understand, and you kind of hinted to this, and you're very modest, so you're not going to tell me all the things. Oh, look at what I did. But my understanding is you had a pretty fascinating recruiting process. I mean, you were heavily recruited coming out of high school. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so after my sophomore season, we started having schools that reached out to my dad, who was my head coach at the time, and they'd reach out to him and they would want to come see me throw. And so on Tuesday and Thursday morning, second period athletics, we would get 5 or 6 of our receivers out there, and we would prepare a script, kind of like a pro day script, and I'd go out and make about 25 to 35 throws for these guys, and if they wanted to see me do something, they could ask, and I would do it. And so a couple started coming, and then me and my dad always joke, it's like the movie Blindside, where he goes out there and he shakes 10 coaches' hands before practice. Like I was getting everybody's card, and then I would throw. And then, a couple of days of doing that, and there was a coach named Coach Tim Rattay, who at the time was at Louisiana Tech. And, all the coaches had left, and he said, Deuce, let's talk or whatever. And so we're walking on my high school field and just talking. He's like, I love the way you threw. And then in the middle of the conversation, he throws it out super casually. He's like, we're going to offer you, obviously, and da-da-da-da. And my heart just dropped. I mean, I'm talking like to my stomach. I was like, oh my gosh, I just got a scholarship offer. So that was pretty,
that was after your sophomore year.
That was after my sophomore season.
Yeah.
And, me and my dad after that, we were sitting in the field house where we had been in the same field house since I was a little kid running around. And that was a pretty emotional moment. And then I think 2 days later, I got Oklahoma State, and the ball just started rolling.
So some of the colleges heavily recruiting you out of high school through junior and senior year, colleges like who?
That
we would know.
Yeah. Iowa, obviously where I went,
Yeah.
Oklahoma State, University of Georgia, University of Tennessee. Those were actually cool offers. I actually, there was a coach named Jim Chaney who I got to go throw for my freshman year at Georgia. And I remember he didn't offer, and I was all beat up as a freshman.
As a freshman.
As a freshman.
Oh,
and
that's
then-
a big bummer.
Right. And then after my sophomore year, I was actually into my junior season at this point. I was actually sitting in chemistry class, and we get a knock on the door, and it was the lady that would like bring guests, or if you had a parent, checking you out or whatever. So she says, "Hey, Deuce, you have a guest." I stand up, I walk out, and Coach Cheney's in my hallway in Texas, and he's wearing Tennessee gear. And he had just moved school. He said, "Deuce, Coach Cheney." I was like, "Man, Coach, what's up?" He said, "Do you remember this kid?" And he showed me video of me throwing at Georgia as a freshman. He's like, "We just want to make sure you'd grow how we thought, and we're going to give you an offer to the University of Tennessee." And it was pretty cool. And then Georgia came the next day. Yeah, it was an awesome experience.
So why ultimately, I mean, with that and you ultimately choose Iowa, you go to school there. Why did you choose Iowa to go to school and play?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of factors. First of all, being the right fit. That's kind of a broad term, but I look at like quarterback room accessibility. Who are the guys I'm going to have to beat out? Pro style offense. I'm not going to go somewhere where they're running the read option. I need offense that fits me. How does it translate to the next level? Do they put guys in the NFL? And then just sort of a God-given piece. When you get recruited and you go all around the country, everybody has sweet stadiums, everybody has sweet jerseys, everybody tells you you're the future. So, something's got to differentiate itself from the others. And yeah, just an ultimate piece about going there.
But it didn't work out.
It didn't work out, but I have no regrets.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Now, we played Iowa last year.
Right.
Right? So had you already left? Were you on the sidelines? How did that all go down?
Yeah, so I entered the portal after the Nebraska game. I had a little bit of a disagreement with a coach there, but ultimately I have no bad blood there. I got a lot of love for the people in Iowa City and a lot of the growth that I went through there. And after the Nebraska game, I entered the portal, and so I was actually at home watching it on TV. And in between those couple weeks, I had been approached by Kentucky. I knew I was going to Kentucky, and so it wasn't public knowledge yet. But man, I was sitting on the couch, very conflicted. I remember that because on one hand, it was my best friends. It was my best friends playing against my future teammates. So that was a pretty wild experience.
So you came to Kentucky, and again, you felt the piece about it. All these variables you were talking about. You came here and heavily, I would say, recruited. Is it called recruiting when you're in the transfer portal? Are they recruiting you still? I would imagine. I guess
it's a little bit of a different process. A lot of the guys in the portal have been to a school. They understand that all the flashy and it doesn't matter. They're not trying to sell you something. It's like, hey, we want you. If you want us, let's get it going. Let's get the papers. And it's selling to a kid that's been in a college program for 24 months is a lot different than selling to an 18-year-old that's likes the big stadium. So it's a lot more business, I think, when you're coming in and out of the portal. But yeah, you're still recruiting. Yeah.
So you came here after the couple of years at Iowa with the intention of saying, okay, I'm coming here. Same thing. You got to beat out a quarter, et cetera. But obviously, Will becomes, he's the starter especially after the season you watched and the unbelievable bowl game that he had in Iowa or in Florida. And your thought is, okay, I'll move in and then I'll compete for the position. Talk a little bit about you're here, and 2 weeks later, one of the key variables, Liam Combs, who brought you here with Coach Stoops. Stoops, I think, ultimately, as I understand, had the great connection with you, and you're close with him. But he leaves. And I've now watched this. It seems like over the last couple of years, whether it's transfer portal or, I don't know, job changes, it's like everything is moving so fast now. It's unbelievable. What does that feel like to you? What happened at that moment?
Yeah. So, it's a fun process. It's an interesting process. And, college football is not necessarily a business of stability. And I understood that coming into it. Right. So, I didn't plan on coming and starting this year. I obviously knew who Will was, and he's a stud, and I hope he's the first overall pick in a few months. Like, that's my dude. He's like a big brother to me. But yeah, I knew Will was the guy, and my job was to come and they told me if I showed up and won the backup job that I'd get a full scholarship. And I had other places where I could have gone and been on scholarship immediately, but when the SEC calls, especially a program like Kentucky that's on the rise, you got recruits coming in. I'm like, that's something I want to be a part of. And then getting on the phone with Coach Stoops, I was like, all right, that's pretty awesome. So came here, just bet on myself. And then Yeah, 2.5 weeks maybe after me being here, Coach Cohen got hired by the LA Rams, which, like, I believe he's from LA, so I wasn't upset. There was no bad blood there. I think it changed a little bit, just because it's one less relationship you have in the building. And, walking into a building where you don't know any teammates, I had no relationships. I knew Coach Stoops and Coach Cohen, and that was it. So yeah, it was just one less relationship, and I think that kind of restarted the climb. But yeah, it was an interesting process.
So you're going into your 4th year,
Yep.
right? You have, after going into this year, you have how many more years of eligibility?
As of today, I have 3 seasons left.
You have 3 seasons of eligibility. Your redshirt year, and then an extra year for COVID.
Yep.
Right? It's amazing you can carry that on, but
Right.
they've just kind of written that season off,
Right.
right? You were superstar in high school, and you have now been out of high school for 3 years and really haven't had an opportunity to shine. So for 4 years, you were a superstar, and the last 3, you're doing, not much, right? Talk me through that. How's that been on your psyche and your where's your head at with all this?
A few places. When you say not much, to me, the first word that came to mind is I haven't been doing much publicly. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I've been kind of in this lab that nobody gets to see. And, the first 6 months of it was the hardest part. I'm 16 hours from home in Iowa City. There's snow on the ground. I miss my girlfriend. I'm not playing ball. There's like the emotional, But to me now, the way I view it is that the public eye could have seen the 18-year-old that came out of high school or the 21-year-old that they might get the first glimpse of. And I'm a different man than I was. So, to me, it's awesome. I've been in a lab. I'm excited to show what I can do. And, I've made so many relationships and got to move different places in the country. And like, this is like the fun of it. This is the journey. You know what I'm saying?
Well, admittedly, I first met you when you, not long after you got here, right? And you had just gotten onto scholarship, and I had the privilege of having a group of guys over to the house, and had dinner, and immediately I had known of your progression, but to get to know you, the man that you are, your character, integrity. It's first of all, it's been an honor to spend time with you and get to know you better. And again, just another reason that I'm like, I'm gonna, in our little world here, I'm gonna do what I can to get you out there, to get your name out there.
Right.
So I want to go back to the high school days a little bit. Your dad was a long-time coach. He's tell me about. I asked Will this sort of this type of question, but tell me about like growing up in that dynamic and that family. What was that like?
Man, it was. I would not change a single day about how I was raised. I 2 parents that are madly in love with each other, and that's just awesome. As a kid, that's awesome to wake up in a happy home every day.
And abnormal.
Yeah, abnormal. And
these days.
Yeah, so they've been married for 20-something years and more in love every day. So that's the biggest blessing I can imagine. But yeah, Dad's a head football coach, and we're in church every Sunday and every Wednesday. And yeah, it was just like, it's Texas football, family, church. That's how I was raised. And so my dad's obviously a stud, and even to this day coaches men and businesses bring him in. And I guess the way he would say it is that a business or an organization is only as good as its people. And so my dad, what he does is every day teach bosses and employees how to perform at the highest level. And so that's what he did. So in my ear every day I got him, the wisest man I know. And then my mom, like, everyone that I know that's around my age, Mama Hogan. That's what they call her. Our door has been a revolving door my whole life, and it always smells good, and there's always food cooking. And Mom is that's who she is. She's a source of love. And I got an older sister, recently married to a guy named Isaiah Hall. Her name is Geraldine, and they met at Texas A&M University, and just two top tier people, like non-bias. If I had a company and my sister Geraldine and her husband Isaiah interviewed, it's like those kind of people you want to work for you. And then my little brother, who I always tell people he's a Renaissance man. He plays the guitar. He's a unbelievable mind and philosophy and theology, and he's an all-state lineman that likes to choke people on Friday nights. So yeah, awesome family dynamic.
So I thought I was a positive person. Like, you're ridiculously positive. So what is bad in life? I mean, I gotta have something. What is not good right now? Anything?
Hard to think of something. I'm
Really?
blessed. I'm blessed. I'm happy every day.
Gosh, I'm in the markets. I mean, it's a bear market. It's been a rough year. It's, I'm a very positive person. My outlook's optimistic, but this year it's been yucky. Anyways, all right. So, I mean, family's been great. I feel like we have a good understanding of your backstory, your high school career. You went to Iowa, again, 2 years, didn't work out, move in the transfer portal, come to Kentucky. Why do you think now? I first of all, people know this about me. So, I mean, we're fans. I'm a grad, UK. I teach there. Season ticket holder, big UK fan. I know of you. I know of your story. I'm observant of what's going on. I also watch everything from, Twitter to the discussions. Why do you think right now, and maybe I'm observing this wrong, why are you not in the conversation of what's to come for Kentucky football?
I think I came in quietly. I think I came in January when there was no quarterback controversy. Will was our guy. I walked on. I wasn't posting about it. There wasn't, I just came in quietly, and that's okay with me. I wasn't, trying to come in and take anything from Will. And I think that that's kind of how we got to where we are, where, I feel like maybe in the public eye I'm a little overlooked, but
I don't think they know who you are. I mean, literally, I've told you this. I'm like, we people need to know your story. They need to know who you are. And I was telling Brandy, my wife, I said, yeah, I'm going to have Deuce on the podcast, and she goes, babe, you've never seen him play. I go, listen, I got a knock on Twitter at one point. Somebody says, I trust the coaches. I trust the coaches. I mean, Stoops and Cohen, and they brought you here. I know the man you are, the character and integrity. And again, as an observer, I'm like, yeah, but he's got to get a shot.
Right.
So let me ask you, we're rolling into a bowl game. Our quarterback's not playing, which personally speaking, I think is smart, but neither here nor there. Are you going to, you think you'll get a shot? This is against Iowa, your team. There's no better Cinderella story.
Right.
Do you think you're going to get a shot?
Man, I hope so. I hope so bad. And that'd be quite the story. And I got a lot of guys over there that I'd like to hug, but I'd like to beat.
Okay, so as a layman, and I think this would be good for people who are watching or listening. So you didn't get, South Carolina, you're not the quarterback, right? So my understanding is Skangs was looking for his kind of a dual threat offense, and you're an air guy. Like, let's go, throw it out, right? Which we all love. The world loves, right? That's fun. But you weren't the guy. So we don't know who's going to be calling the plays. So, or what kind of offense is this going to be? So, what's going to happen? I know maybe you can't tell us. Maybe we're opening Pandora's box here that we shouldn't open, but is there a shot for you to do what you do best? Air it out.
Yeah, I sure hope so. I think it'll be decided in bowl prep. What? We have a couple weeks leading up to the game, and hopefully, there's obviously being some turnaround with personnel and staff, and I think we'll see. I think hopefully that couple weeks is an open competition, and we'll see what happens on New Year's Eve.
Okay. It would not be prudent to not ask you. You are going to be getting some money. The university is educating student athletes and putting some of scholarship money or something into an investment account for you. So this is an investment podcast.
Right.
So what are you buying? What are you investing in here, Deuce?
Wow. Okay. So first, let me say that it's a program called UK Invests. There's nothing going,
No. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very public thing, and I believe we're one of the first universities to do it in the country.
I think it's brilliant. I think it's fantastic.
It's really
I hope
cool.
You tell everybody about DIY money. They might gain some insight here. Anyways.
Right. And then, so basically what they're going to do is that we've had to take a few financial literacy courses, and then we've had 3 different speakers come in and teach us. And basically the idea is that, there's a lot of college athletes that get scholarship checks for 4 years, don't save any of it, and they don't know how to manage money, or they have no money. or even, if they play at a professional level, they have no idea what to do with it.
Mhm.
And so, people say with investing, the number one thing that's on your side is time. So they're trying to start as early as possible. So, from my sources, I should get into the S&P and the contra
Keep
fund.
it simple.
Yeah.
Index it, right?
Right.
Index. Well, that's great. Well, I think that's wonderful. So we've talked football, we've talked your history, we've talked your family. Faith is a big influence in your life. Touch on that if you would.
Yeah. So like I've said, raised in the church every Sunday and Wednesday, and in an environment my whole life. I went to a private Christian school, and so the Bible is who I am. It's the foundation for why we do what we do, and it shapes. It is the lens that we view the world through. And so, you asked me, why am I so happy? I think that perspective and joy go hand in hand.
Mm.
And I think it's when you have the right perspective, it's hard to wake up and be upset because I'm breathing and walking. You know what I'm saying? And so,
Wow.
that's
yes,
kind of
I do.
That's kind of
bear
my
market or not, I do. That is great. It's what I needed to hear. I really appreciate that. Last thing I have for you is, what are you studying? What's your undergrad major here?
Yeah, so I study community leadership and development. It's high level communication, and it's how to get involved with the area that's immediately around you. People always want to make change. People always make an impact. And what we do a whole lot of learning about is that you have to be where your feet are, and you're not going to be able to impact the city over if you don't impact your neighborhood. So how to get plugged in where you are and how to communicate at a high level.
What do you want to do when your football career is over? I mean, look, let's hope you get starting job. You're a rock star, superstar, Will Levis-esque. You move on, you get drafted, you do all your years in the NFL, and then what? What does it look like into the future?
I want to speak. I love people. I love relationships. So I don't know if it would be speaking in church or public speaking. But no, I love people, and I would like to be able to speak to people and build relationships.
Well, you speak very well. So that is a positive. I think you're on the right trajectory for that goal. You're going to do phenomenal. All right. Hopefully you now understand why I was so motivated to bring Deuce onto this show. Hopefully, and again, my small attempt at sharing you with the world, who I hope maybe in a couple weeks, wouldn't that be? Will you come back? If that happens, can we bring, regardless, I want to bring you back anyways.
Absolutely.
I told Will the same thing. We just haven't been able to make it work. And at some point, we're going to make it work. We're going to bring him back here and update him. But we'd love to have you back. Love to follow your progression over the next couple of years, and see how you do. Absolutely. I really appreciate you coming in today. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
All right. I don't know how to end this because usually I end it with some financial quote, but I'm not going to end it that way. I'm going to end it, I think, the way Deuce would appreciate, and that is, regardless of where you are, what you're doing, make it a great day. Thanks again for being here, Deuce.
Yes, sir.